Is my screen visible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you recall, in the last class, we have been discussing about the different types of pulse generators which can be used as the power supply for EDM. Okay. And one of the simplest type of power supplies, okay, which you may use is the relaxation generator. It is comprising mostly a charging portions and and consisting of a charging resistance as well as a condenser which stores the energy, and upon giving the threshold voltage there will be breakdown or the condenser discharges which gives the energy of the spark. So we have seen this is the energy delivered in each spark. Okay, and these sparks are very short durations. Okay, maybe we can have 1,000 such sparks in a second. Okay, but energy content each spark will be this thing half into breakdown voltage. At the time of breakdown, what is the voltage across the condenser? And if we try to hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think the
So, but your
network
voice
may
is
be issue.
breaking in between that.
That's it. Am I audible?
Your voice is breaking in between.
I think my side that network is having some issues. Let me see some other way. Please hold on for a while. I am trying to connect through my mobile. From yesterday, some network issue is there. I am presently not in my department at my home, so let me try to connect through my other way. Is it all right now? Okay, just a minute. Just I'm coming out of the share for a while. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Voice is clear?
It is okay now. If you have some issues, we'll interrupt you.
It is okay. Please let me know. Okay. If there is an issue, please let me know. Okay. I think my side there will be some network issue. So the energy delivered in the spark is each spark is half C into VCO square. VCO is the breakdown voltage of the condenser. Okay, so if the frequency of charging is Fc. Okay, so you can say per second your so much of an energy you deliver into the spark gap, that is between the tool and the job. Okay, but question is there there is a efficiency factor, means what percent, if it is there in a very ideal situation, 100% of the sparks will be used for the machining purpose, but not that always all the sparks will be effective. Some will be create a spark, but due to unknown local situations, okay, there may be that spark may not actually form any material removal or spark plasma channel. Okay, so those are inactive sparks. So if eta fraction of the total number of pulses results in effective discharge, so material removal rate, that is material removed per second, which will be proportional to the energy delivered in the spark gap per second, which is half eta into Fc into CVCO square. From there, what we have seen, we have to find out Fc will be how much, because charging time is much larger than the discharge time. So practically speaking, Fc will be almost approximately equal to 1 by Tc. So so Tc value already you know. Last class, you please refer to the last class lecture. So it will be 1 by Rc into 1 upon log of 1 minus VCO by V0. What is V0? V0 is the supply voltage, which is coming out from the pulse generator. Okay, so this is the source voltage. So these portions, this right hand side, we are just denoting as some F, some constant. So that way, in a simpler manner, we can write it is this will be equal to will be these values. So we can see MRR is proportional to 1 by 2 into Kf by Rc into.
Excuse me, sir.
Signal is yes. Voice is cutting. I do
Yes,
not
sir.
know.
We were not able to hear what you said last.
But my screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Let me try out some other way. So MRR is basically can be written as K1 into eta divided by 2 by Rc into this value. So out of all these terms for MRR, you see the breakdown voltage is known. How do you know it? See, you connect an oscilloscope, okay, storage oscilloscope, and measure the voltage signature with time. Okay, how? So wherever the breakdown, that point you can note down what is this breakdown voltage. Okay, and V0 as such, you know, that is the source voltage. Okay, then resistance. Okay, this also you know it. Okay, so this will be known to you. Okay, and K1 obviously will not be known to you. It is some constant of proportionality, but how do you know it? You have to carry out a series of from you can find out the approximate value of K1 out of the experiments. What is this constant of this proportionality? Okay, so you may just a minute. Again, I hope I'm trying to reconnect. Okay, please hold on. Some network issue from my end. So coming from the material removal rate, let us try to identify some of the process parameters which can affect the various outputs. Material removal is one of them in EDM. Okay, so one of them is peak current setting, then gap voltage, capacitance, pulse on time, pulse off time, duty factor, and polarity. Okay, so there are some these things like this. So out of this, you understand peak current setting means you understand the gap condition, the current value peak will be depending upon the gap condition as such. So for a given gap condition, there is a limit, but of course, when the breakdowns takes place, the dielectric is going to offer some resistance, is it not? But additionally, in order to control and dictate the current on the machine side, the controller side, we can have another sort of additional resistances which can be selected one or number of resistance at a time, so that current rating on the maximum current flowing in the discharge channel can be controlled. So you understand, whenever you have a very low current during the on time, the amount of melting and or the crater that has been created by single spark is going to be very small. But the higher the current, the bigger will be crater and the generated crater. Okay, so that is how the current setting is there. What is pulse on time, pulse of time? This you understand. But what is duty factor? Duty factor is out of the entire cycle time, how much is the pulse on time? What fraction is the pulse on time? That means it is the ratio of pulse on time and the total cycle time. Total cycle time means it is T on time plus off time. So it is T on divided by T on plus T off. Okay. So let us see what will be the effect. Okay. So the effect wise, if you try to increase the current or spark voltage, the MRR is going to be increased because spark energy delivered in the spark gap increases. So there will be increase in MRR, but since the crater sizes of individual sparks is going to be more, higher current or higher voltage means higher surface roughness. Okay. Now, when you have a low inter-electrode gap, you have low material removal rate, high surface finish, but better accuracy. Better accuracy means because of the low inter-electrode gap, the features on the tool will be more accurately generated on the job, because whatever features are there on the tool, that the inverse of that things will be generated on the job. Now, if the gap is more, there is more likelihood that there will be the plasma channel will be dispersed. It may move not exactly a straight line. With time, it may be dispersed a bit, deviate a bit. But smaller the gap, such chances and scope is limited. Now, point number 3, what will happen if you increase the spark frequency? The spark frequency means if your energy delivered in the spark remains the same per unit time, okay, that means you are for a higher frequency, you are splitting the energy in a small fraction, means each spark is going to have a lesser amount of energy. That means your crater size is going to be smaller and you will have improved surface finish, because as energy is shared by more number of sparks. Okay. And point number 4, the decrease in pulse duration, it will produce low MRR, better surface finish and low electrode wear. Okay, because rather than going for a very long sparks, the longer the pulse on time or proportionately the pulse off time also, what will happen? The whole development of the plasma channel will grow for a longer amount of time. Okay, and there is more likelihood because during the on time, the gap has to be cleaned by the flushing, and because of the machining, if debris are continuously created, such debris has to be removed. But if they remain locally during the long pulse on time, the dielectric will have some change in properties. So there is more likelihood there will be arcing kind of situations. So that would lead to not very good health in the locally. So you can have a reduction in the material removal rate. Okay, this is one thing, better surface finish, and because of you are decreasing rather than going for long pulse duration, arcing chance is less, so your electrode wear is also going to be less. Okay. Is my screen visible? Effect of polarity.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please let me know if now out of this all these things, okay. The last point, what is the effect of polarity? Okay. Now polarity means what is whether you should connect your job to the positive terminal or you should connect the tool to the positive terminal, because tool and the workpiece will have Okay, either positive or negative, but and vice versa. Okay, so because sometimes we make in EDM job as positive, sometimes we make the in EDM the workpiece as negative as well. So sometimes positive, sometimes negative. So, but what dictates this decision? Because say most of the time we are going for ferrous material, okay, iron based material, and my very common tool is a copper tool. So what polarity should be given to the workpiece and why? Say when we judge a workpiece, we'll look at the what is the electronegativity. Okay, out of the electronegativity, relative electronegativity of the tool and the workpiece. Say between between copper and iron, okay, choosing iron negative and copper tool positive gives a stronger discharge and vice versa. Why? Because iron can give away electrons more easily than copper. So if iron is connected to the negative terminal and copper to the positive terminal, what is happened? For the same other conditions remaining same, the given voltage, the dielectric constant, the inter-electrode gap, okay, your current setting, all other things constant. What will happen for these given settings? Iron will give, iron negative will give a stronger discharge. Stronger discharge means your MRR will be more. But what would have happened if iron would have connected to the positive, copper negative? Now the electrons will be extracted from the copper. Copper is negative. But because of the relatively lesser electronegativity, less number of electrons will come out from copper. So your discharge channel will be slightly feeble as compared to the previous one, means iron negative. So if you want to really bothered about the want to do your job quickly, you have to connect iron to the negative terminal. So in this chart, we have given electrode discharge machining characteristics of the various electrode material and job material combinations. See, this side we have the tool material, this side we have the work material, say zinc, magnesium, and so on. Okay, and this side also similar materials. So here you see iron as the job, it is here, and copper as the tool here. So it is somewhere here. Okay, this is my point of interest. So here you see what is you are doing. This time is the MRR or work cutting rate. Okay, this time this side we have given you the tool wear or erosion of the copper. This time maybe the current in ampere, machine stability, tool wear ratio. What is tool wear ratio? Tool wear ratio means the ratio between the for a given time how much of the tool has been worn out compared to the machining of the job. So ideally speaking, everybody will want to have a zero tool wear because you have to retain the feature on the tool. But practically speaking, tool also going to be worn out little bit. However conductive the tool is, like copper is a very conductive material because of the positive or sometimes negative ions also depending upon the polarity setting. Some amount of heat will be generated on the anode also, the tool also, and that may lead some tool wear. So how to minimize this? Ideally, we should be having a as low tool wear ratio as possible. Then only we can tell it should be good. Okay. Volume of the tool eroded divided by volume of the work eroded. So that way here you see this is much higher as compared to the tool erosion, and here machine stability is also very good for this kind of things. So not that always we will make the workpiece as negative. Maybe we have some combinations where the tool material is much more electronegative as compared to the job. So that case, the tool will be connected to the negative terminal for higher material removal rate. But other way also some amount of material will be removed. Okay. It's not that even whether you connect the iron to the positive, that also some machining will be there, but material removal rate will be less for iron as positive. Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now coming to the surface integrity in EDM process. Now surface integrity means how after machining the resultant surface, how good it is for subsequent applications, subsequent uses. Do I need to machine it further? Do I need to treat it further? Okay, something. So surface integrity is not just in terms of surface roughness only. Surface roughness is also a component of surface integrity. But other than surface roughness, there may be other factors like say, is there any cracks on the surface? Surface may be apparently look absolutely fine in my naked eye, but there may be various micro cracks. Some of these cracks may be along the horizontal plane, means it is growing like this. Those are relatively safer. But some of the cracks are vertically going down from the top down to the root. Okay, some cracks may be there. Okay, from this top surface down there, some cracks may be there. Okay, and these cracks, micro cracks, these cracks are really dangerous. Why? Because these cracks eventually, when the job is actual application, maybe on some cyclic loading, means alternate loading and withdrawal of the loading, maybe tensile again compressive, some kind of situation like this. These cracks may propagate further. And this propagation eventually they may lead to failure of the component. That may be after 1 week, after 1 month, after 1 year. But had the cracks not been there, the component would have life for 5 years. Who knows? So we have to get rid of these things. Okay. Sometimes the resultant surface, there is no crack. There is surface finish is also very good, but something like some deposited material has come. Apparently, first few hours application it may be very good, but what you see under a given load, when the load exceeds certain load, this kind of layer it tends to peel out, come out of the surface. That means there is some mismatch between the top and the bottom of this surface. How this is very small actually. This may be around 5 micron thickness or 10 micron thickness, and that tends to come out. And the moment it tends to come out, peel off at certain points, it is going to create disaster because sometimes it may be load bearing surface. Okay, surface finish will be lost. And those pockets may be something like a more worn out, and various types of wears and other kind of things will start there. Okay, abrasive wear or sometimes other kind of wear, adhesive wears, and all these things can be initiated there. So these issues together will tell whether the surface is integrity is good or bad. So in how good is the surface integrity in EDM? Okay, so when you see, because the energy, spark energy is going to melt a material, and this melted material during the collapse of plasma channel, it is by the collapse pressure of the collapsing, okay, implosive pressure of the collapsing, this molten material is going to remove from these areas. Mostly it depends upon the various other situations also, and it gets fragmented, but a certain percentage of this molten material remains locally there onto the things, and they get resolidified. So that resolidified layer during the EDM, that is called recast layer. But remember, some of the recast layer is continuously getting removed. It is deposited, again removed by the subsequent pulses. But during the last operation, probably the recast layer remains. So recast layer means there we have gone above the melting point of the material. Some material has been molten and resolidified there. Then below that things, this heat has percolated, conducted into the down bottom, and some amount of this, it has changed the microstructure, but it has not been melted. So that is called the heat affected zone. Typically, it will be above the recrystallization temperature of the material. Okay, maybe around 725 degrees centigrade, where for ferrous material this kind of situation will happen, but it is not melting as such. And below this, if you go further, temperature does not rise so much to bring about this kind of changes. So we have recast layer, we have heat affected zone, and followed by at the bottom we have base material which is not affected at all. Rather than some amount of heating may be there, but it will not alter the change. So here, the recast layer, what will happen? Molten metal has not been flushed away it completely, so it is resolidified on the workpiece. But here it will be due to the very high cooling rate, the fast cooling, and quenching, the hardness of the recast layer is extremely high. In the Rockwell scale, it will be around 60 HRC. Thickness wise, recast layer may be very thin. Sometimes it may be very thick. It all depends upon what is the parameter setting, what is the energy delivered into the gap part spark. Okay, so it may be thick as 50 micron itself, and it may contain micro cracks. So I said these micro cracks are very dangerous. So this recast layer, typically for many EDM machines, particularly when it is having a very thick recast layer, in order to containing these micro cracks, recast layers has to be machined by after EDMing. You go for grinding, remove the recast layer. Okay, that will be most safer operation for you. But if you can control the parameter settings, probably you can bring down recast layer to very thin, little value, small value, and you can avoid those micro cracks. So that case, probably you don't require this kind of situations. Okay. Okay. Now,
I had a question.
Bolo.
In the geometry, basically, which is created using EDM, may be complex enough that you may not be able to grind the surface. So
Exactly.
Chemical method or something else that can be.
So that case, actually, you have to do the operations in 2 phases. Okay. Typically, you will be having a roughing tool followed by a finishing tool. First you deploy the roughing tool. Roughing tool, you go for a higher machine parameter settings, go near to the final dimensions, and then you change the tool deploy the finishing tool, it will have same features, integrate features, but now you set it in a lower parameter settings. In a lower parameter settings, energy delivered in the spark will be far less, so that molten material, subsequent layer, everything will be thinner, and your cracks, the chances of crack developing will be less. So only last maybe half a millimeter you do it by at low energy settings, and so that you can avoid those situations, and you finish the job with the finishing situations where you don't require such kind of grinding operation. I'll give you some applications, you'll understand it very clearly. Okay, and it will show you how it is done both by the finishing and as well as roughing followed by finishing operations. Okay, very good question and observation. So this is what is, I'm showing you some applications. Okay, what is this? Say, look at on the right hand side. This is basically part of the mold for casting of a crankcase. Okay, here the material, what material is steel? Okay, and this is the dimension of the job, 200 millimeter into 150 millimeter. Okay, now here we are using 2 electrodes, and the electrodes are made of graphite, not copper, graphite. And this is one graphite electrode for roughing. Okay, H is missing actually, and one graphite electrode for the finishing operations, because you see a lot of complications and grinding is out of questions. So with the roughing out of a, because initially it was a rectangular block, out of this you have removed, okay, some material slowly, and the tool has gone down, and so that these features have been generated. You can see exactly the complementary shape over here, is it not? So first we do the roughing operations and then go for the finishing, but this is a very big job. And to complete, but once done, this can be used for various subsequent uses. Okay, but this itself will take more than a day. Okay. The second applications, I am showing you how to the machine a gear wheel cutter. Okay, out of the blank, this kind of shape. What I am doing, I am creating this kind of shapes, okay, which will be able to cut a gear wheel. Okay, so for this, I have to have some improvised little bit and create a tool features like this. Look at the tool features. It is like this. Okay, so this is the job, which is made of hardened steel. And this is the tool which is fixed on this tool holder, which is made of copper. Again, one is for roughing, okay, and other one is for finishing. And profile of the tool has been then. During finishing, as I said, the parameter setting on the machine will be so set so that the energy delivered in the spark gap. See, during machining, this is the job, this is a tool, the whole thing may be under a dielectric fluid, and then we give the pulses between them, and this can be connected to maybe negative polarity, this can be connected to the positive polarity. Okay, but during finishing, we may, when we change this tool, we can change the machining settings, machine settings, so that exact feature, and this does not get worn out because of the high material removal rate. But we have to compromise the MRR during finishing operations, and this would take for this kind of job around 3.5 hours. Okay, and so there will be number of motions involved, you understand, because of this. The rotary motion of this, and this can travel slowly through a servo mechanisms towards the job, that is the depth of cut, but that will be a servo control, and which will be in tandem with the amount of material removal, because unless material ahead is removed, a new job cannot be created, and tool should never touch the job, otherwise my whole effort will be spoiled. The third applications which I would like to show you, it is the mold for a plastic bottle. Something like a bottle which is created by either say what you call injection molding or thermoforming, blow molding, something like that. So for that we have to create the core and the cavity, is it not? So here what is done, we are creating these things, the material, the mold tool inserts. We are calling it a tool when you put in the molding machine. So out of the big thing, these are the will be tool inserts will be created. Inside we have the features, actual features of the cavity which will be created. So this is made of some steel. Most likely it is made of some die steel. Okay. So here we look at the shape. Okay. So here also we are using two graphite electrodes. But before going into the actual EDM of operations, because this is what we have to do it, we have to make it in the two. One is the top, another is the bottom portions. What do we do it? So that we need not have to machine the entire portions. First, centrally we create a hole. That is through a process called boring process. So that is nothing but a conventional machining. Okay, through a conventional boring process, we create a 50 millimeter diameter hole which can replicate these things, so that additional material need not have to be unnecessarily machined by the EDM process. But when the features have to be generated, first we use the roughing tool, followed by we go for the finishing tool. Okay, this is how we go for these things, and this itself we can get a surface finish because you require very good surface finish. So we can get almost 1 micron surface finish with this. But in order to achieve that thing, probably you have to compromise with the MRR during the finishing operations, and this should take around slightly more than 2 days, 50 hours. Okay, and this is the bottle size, around 1.5 liter bottle, maybe PET or some other things like Coca-Cola and those kind of bottles. This applications what we are showing you, this is a punch and die set for a cutting razor blades. Okay, so this is a blade, okay, which needs to be made out of a sheet, okay, stainless steel sheet, by say blanking process. But for that thing we got to have the die and the punch. Okay, so this is what we need to have it. So here, how do you create this? This material is basically made of a very hard material, because otherwise if it is not hard, because you are not going to create the one single blade, this will be several tens of thousand blades. It has to be created by a single die. So this will be made of what material? Tungsten carbide. Okay, a composite of tungsten carbide and cobalt. Okay, so this will be 63 mm and this will be around 20 mm the dimension, and this geometric tolerance, acceptable geometric tolerance, has to be plus minus within 2 micron. Okay, and my surface finish has to be around 1 micron average surface reference value. And additionally, because it can come out easily, because after blanking we have to provide a relief angle, which is for die we are giving around 4 minutes. Okay, 60 degrees is equal to 1 minute, so it will be roughly 1/15th of a degree. Okay, and for punch it will be 1 minute. Okay, so this kind of things we can easily machine. Okay, with this, and here for die machining is around 15 hours. For punch it will be around 3.5 years. Both the features can be easily generated with this. Okay, so this is another example how EDM can take place even for hard material like a carbide, which conventional tool is very difficult. Okay. Now this is a very some special applications just to demonstrate the capability. What we are doing, we are rather than machining, we are doing an engraving operation just to create some kind of a marking like this. What you have to do it on this product. Okay, this is basically a knurling wheel. Knurling process, you know. On a lathe, you might have seen that those texture surface we have created. Maybe you have seen it. That is the knurling process. Okay. Maybe on a gripper, that surface will be not very smooth. It will be textured. So that kind of surface can be generated by this kind of knurling tool. Okay. Here actually on this knurling tool, suppose we want to have these things engraved. What do we do? We take this is of hardened steel and the electrode is made of copper. Here, this surface finish is even more stringent. This is only 0.1 micron, 0.14 micron average surface roughness. So this is a just like a very polished surface. Okay. Now this, if you want to do it, what will happen? You can see this is made of a copper, made of a flat block, where these things have been already what you call created out of machining, these letters, and these letters has to be transferred onto this job. How do you do it? You bring it close to this and you and you slowly rotate these things around this, so that just like your rubber stamp, this gets printed even on a curved surface, provided you can rotate these things with respect to there is a relative motions, and so that at any point of time, maybe at one time these portions will be there, next time only this portion, because this is a curved surface and this is a flat surface. So there will be any point of time there will be only a line contact. So it has to be rotated so that new portions can come and this can get transferred, but it will take some time, like roughly 1.5 hours this can be done. But knowing that this is a hardened tool and this kind of surface finish is required, even at a low energy settings, parameter settings, EDM can transfer these things, these letters and printing, and same tool can be done for n number of things. But this is just to demonstrate that this can be done. There may be other options like laser marking and other things. Those are maybe economically much more convenient and what you call practical processes as compared to this. But potential wise, even EDM can do it. This is again, we are doing the injection molding cavity. Okay, these are again on die steel. These cavities will be printed on this. So this is my tool. This is the tool holder. You see on which this copper tool has been printed. This has been given a shape. Okay, so here you see this shape has been transferred onto this by the die sinking method. Okay, the precision requirement is something around 10 micron, 0.01 millimeter. Okay, electrode is copper, as I said. Surface finish again submicron, 0.4, not millimeter, it is 0.4 micron. Okay, it's not millimeter. And machining time takes little bit of time, but because it is made of die steel, almost EDM will be given near apply use finishing. You need not have to finish further on this. Okay, so that is how such settings can be there. Any kind of, suppose you want to keep some kind of a thread, those kind of also be printed on this. So different types of shapes can be created on the cavity. So this tool inserts again, you will be fitted onto the mold box, and then from there it will be used for the plastic injection molding. Okay. This is one applications of parts of dies for forging. Okay, so we have to make the dies for forging. Okay, these dies will be used for some kind of a universal joint for automobile industries. Okay, so you see this is the size, roughly it gives you your size. Okay, So this may be around 4 to 5 centimeter or 6 centimeter, okay, or 60 millimeter, and this can be printed on this, okay. This kind of couplers, okay, can be created and this can be fitted onto the things. So again, since they are made of hard steel, they can be directly machined on through the EDM process. Okay, the last applications I'll show you, which is basically how to reclaim a part, okay, by the EDM process. Okay, so EDM in play and roll, it cannot do as a whole. What we are doing, we are using a trimming die. So this thing is basically a die, okay, used for the trimming process. What is this trimming? Out of a plate, out of a block, you see this die is going to generate or cut a connecting rod. At a time, it can do 2 connecting rods. Okay, this connecting rods dimension lengthwise, it is around 200 millimeter, roughly around, say how much? 200 millimeter means around 8 inches. Okay, and this side it is around 100 millimeters. So it is these 2 connecting rods has to be machined in one go. So typically on a press, this die will be fitted and this connecting rods will be created. But what will happen? This repeated usage of the things. So this cavity, okay, will be gradually get worn out, so that dimensional acceptability of the created what you call connecting rods will go out of acceptance. Okay, so what we'll do, typically in order to reclaim the dimensions, restore the dimensions, some material will be deposited. Okay, typically such kind of depositions will be done along this, so that excess material will be deposited with the same die steel. Similarly made of welding rod also will be having similar compositions, so that there is not much thermal mismatch. So by TIG welding this and moving the welding torch, the material will be gradually deposited from the welding rod after melting, and they will be deposited like this. But you understand, a welding cannot give the exact dimensions which is required for this kind of dimensions on the die. So any excess material on the this deposited die material on the die by welding has to be removed by some process, by machining process. But remember, because of the welding and subsequent quenching, it is extremely hard. So how do you do it? You use EDM. Through EDM, knowing that things, you create a exactly shape of a connecting rod with that acceptable tolerance. Have a copper tool. Okay, now you set the things, and through the die sinking operations again create the truth. So any excess materials, okay, by the EDM process, this can be removed, and this die can be again reused for generating the connecting rod by the trimming operations. So this is how a part, rather than throwing it away, you can restore a part, and again you can reuse the part, which will be lot of savings for this kind of operations. So you understand, there are lot of applications, starting from simple machining of a hard material to different types of, say, restoration applications and other applications on hard material EDM process. As I said in the beginning, hardness is not a constant for EDM. Okay, whether you are like you are machining a material with a soft tool like copper or brass, and you are able to machine something like a tungsten carbide by the EDM process. So this is a extremely popular portion, and there has very wide industrial applications. Almost every industry will having several of such EDM machines. Okay, like this. And there are other applications also which has evolved, like later on I'll tell you when you talk about the micro fabrication in this course, there you will understand there is something called micro EDM. I will not discuss it today, but micro EDM means you can control the size of a component. Say suppose you want to make a very small gear. How is it possible to make it through the EDM process? Yes. How do you do it? We'll see, learn that time. But let us close it over EDM over here, and maybe we'll switch over to some other topic. If you have some questions, you can ask me right now on EDM. Okay, fine. So I will share these slides, okay, on Teams. So please go through them, and also I'll give you the assignments. Please submit them by within 1 week time. Okay. Now today I will start another topic which I do it, that will be called electrochemical machining. So first we started electric discharge machining. Now we'll be talking about electrochemical machining. Okay. So let me come out. Is my electrochemical machining is visible? Hello,
No,
friends.
sir. No, sir. No, sir. It's not visible.
Okay, I may maybe unshare and do it again. Okay. Please hold on. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Let me go to the full screen. So electrochemical machining, electrochemistry, all of us have studied some, at least some basics of electrochemistry, and it is based on that, very simple. Okay, so what we know, a basic electrochemical shell. Okay, say we can have n number of anodes and n number of cathodes. They are connected to a common power source. Here this is a DC power source. Okay, and for these things, okay, this is cathode. There are two anodes and one cathode. Okay, and this is the source. So that here this both things, this is the cell and this is the pink color thing is the electrolyte, which could be made of some aqueous solution of some salt. Sometimes it could be some acids, or sometimes it could be some alkali also. Okay, here they are separated by a distance. Now when the power source is on, so from the negative terminal, this is the flow, electrons will come, okay, and through this the charge will be carried, but stator not this, they can be carried through the ions, because this electrolyte, through the electrolysis process, they would get dissociated and these ions can get charged over here. So the ions can get what you call discharged through the ions and electrons. That can maybe positively charged or negatively charged things. So either they can give up electrons or they can take up electrons at the cathode or anode also. So that is how, this is the passage of the electrons, and this is the current is of course the in the ultra directions. Okay, this is how we can say a simple electrochemical cell. Now, my friends, I'm going to talk about the electrochemical machining, but let us see what is the overall the domain of electrochemical processing so far as manufacturing is concerned. Okay, So here, what you can, we can have different types of things. We can have application of electrochemistry in surface treatments, in coatings, as well as in machinings. Okay. So surface treatment, if you see, one of them is called the passivation of a object. Means you have and created a component, but the surface is chemically very much active. So how to reduce this activation? That means you make it chemically inert. That is how what you make it passive. Means either you can make the surface, make some chemical change onto the surface so that it does not become so much electrochemically active, and change any electrochemical corrosion or this kind of changes cannot take place there. So this is a passive. Or sometimes we create a process called, say, anodizing. Anodizing is done for various purposes. One of the purpose could be just to give you some aesthetic look. Say here the figure you see, the made of some material like aluminum. Now you give this kind of, by chemically convert them into some oxides. Okay, and that has become this kind of colors. Okay, or sometimes the chemically make the change through anodizing process, and the converted coating very thin, of course, will give you something which is having a very hard property. Means it will give you a scratch resistance. Okay, so how to give such kind of scratch resistance, it is I'm not going to discuss over here. But say, for example, many a time, say we are doing something like aluminium paneling in a room or something like a special cabinet. You have seen it in laboratories also, they are doing like this. Okay, so there when you extruded aluminum panels comes, those will be done, means converted through the anodizing process, so that aluminum is otherwise a soft material, but the moment through the anodizing process it gets converted to aluminum oxides, which now Al2O3 is a very hard material, so that on the skin you have a lot of scratch resistance is there. It will not get dull also so quickly. So both these things, means aesthetically it will be better, it will last, remain its luster over time. At the same time it will be scratch resistance. Now these are the some of the only surface treatments meant. We are not as such adding any material, but only the existing surface chemically we are converting with some chemicals or some other process, so that it can have some this kind of changes, passivation or anodized surface, something like that, which will be only restricted to the top few microns. But we can, through the electrochemical process, we can give some special coatings also. And these coatings means we are going to add up materials on the things. Existing component, over that we are giving to some extra additional materials. Some other materials, other compositions, it could be there. So this could be either a thin coating, sometimes we can have a thick coating also. Thin coating, we have very commonly seen, say, what is this? This is you are using in your, say, bathrooms or wash machines, so somewhere you are using, okay, this taps and all. So this is typically will give you the core is made of brass. It is can be easily cast, it can be easily machined also, give a shape, but it does not have that good look. And also it does not have the corrosion resistance, because it will be continuously exposed to water and all. So over this we may give a coating of nickel or chromium, which will give you a aesthetically very beautiful look, good luster, at the same time corrosion resistance. So this is done by the process called electroplating. This is a age-old process. Okay, more than 100 years people already knew it. So this is nothing new. Another process also we can do in it. Suppose some of the complex shapes, okay, through depositions of the material similar to electroplating, we go for a thicker material depositions, something around 1 millimeter to 2 millimeter, so that we can create a shell. Okay, say something of this flower vase, beautifully looking. Okay, but this has to be, we cannot manufacture with such a intricacies. No forming process probably will not give you such a complex thing. Simpler things can be manufactured. Okay, so how do you do it? We, through the electrochemical process, we keep on depositing and gradually getting thicker and thicker material. Internal things, I see, sometimes you can have a electroless plating also. So internal things, maybe we can break it out and we can take it out later on, but this can create this kind of shell like this. Okay. But whatever it may be, whether it is surface treatment coating, we are not bothered much at this point of time. We'll be mostly talking about the machining process, how to create a component, just like a conventional machining, through electrochemical processing or electrochemical machining, how to do it, so get the shape, get the dimensions with the acceptable tolerance, and as well as get the finish also. How do you do it? Okay. Next slide. So electroplating, as I said, it was a age-old process. What we was doing, just try to brush up your earlier knowledge, what you learned in your school. Say in a plating bath, what we are doing? Say we have a copper sulfate solution. Okay, that is the electrolyte. You have the copper sulfate solution, that is your electrolyte, and both the electrodes we have taken as the made of copper. Okay, so this is copper electrode. It could have been anode, and cathode is also copper electrode. Okay, what will happen here? This side is the flow of electrons. Okay, it will get carried, okay, through the ions and this thing in the electrolyte. Okay, and here what will happen? This copper gets dissolved, okay, from this rod, and when you apply the voltage, and this coppers will, Cu plus will have this migrated through this electrolyte, okay, in these things, and here they would take up the electrons and get deposited over here. So with time this will be more fatter, okay, as more copper gets deposited, and this will become slimmer and slimmer, okay, like this. Reaction wise, if you have a metal, first we create the positive ions, and it will give up. If the valency is n, so there will be n plus, because it has given away 3 electrons. Okay, so it will be like this. So this all will be in the electrolyte. Then similarly, you can have electrolyte made of something like a, say, similar to like this, say copper sulfate, mm plus Zn. So again, this will get dissociated in terms of Mn and Zm ions. And if you have, it is an aqueous solution, then water in that also will get dissociated in hydrogen plus and hydroxyl ions, OH minus ions. So here there will be some combinations, recombinations will be there. So these two can again join together to give this salt over here. Okay, or else what is the other available negative ions are possible? This is the, okay, so this is the cations, this is the anions, so they too can give a metal hydroxides. Okay, MOHN, they will give you some metal hydroxides, and this is happening at the anode. And similarly, we can have some cathode reactions. Cathode reaction, what will happen? Since similar to these things, say positive metals ions will take up electrons and metals get deposited. Say for example, for copper, this Mn plus will be in terms of Q plus or cupric. So say they would take up the Cu2 plus 2 electrons will be again copper gets deposited. And what will happen? The hydrogen ions also, because that is also positive, so they will also migrate to the cathode. They will get the electrons from there, so they would take up electrons. So here there will be some evolution of hydrogen there, hydrogen gas. You see slowly hydrogen bubbles are getting evolved from these kind of things. Okay, so this is the process which will keep on going with time, and you see this will be getting fatter and this will be getting slimmer with time because of the electroplating. But your machining concept is basically reverse of electroplating. It is just the reverse of electroplating, because there on the workpiece we do not want to deposit any material. Rather, we want to remove material from the job. Suppose on this job, I want to create this kind of features like this. Okay, this is how it is has to be machined. So what we do it, the complementary shape, first out of a rectangular copper block through CNC machining, we remove this profile machine. Now fix it on the electrochemical machining. Take out on the CNC machining, okay, conventional machine, and after machining this tool is ready. Now you have to machine this rectangular workpiece. So this is set up on the vise and this is settled on the tool holder. So now you apply the electrolyte over here and then voltage across this. So with time, the material will be removed. We have to create a conditions and we'll see how it is done, how the material is removed, so that this exact shape again is getting reflected and my desired shape is achieved. How it is has to be done. So you have seen in electroplating, job was cathode. Previous picture, job was cathode and tool was anode. So here we are depositing material. Excuse me. But for ECM process, remember is clearly job will always be connected to the positive terminal, which will get eroded, and tool will remain unaltered. So neither there will be any deposition or there will be erosion. So how this can happen? Because we do not want. So we have to choose our workpiece and tool material and electrolyte combination in such a way this is possible. Means job is gets eroded, but tool there is no material deposit. That way means if electrochemical reaction goes on, there will be definitely some byproducts, some reaction products. But make sure, maybe we are ending with some kind of metal salts, not in the free metal like this, so that which remains in the solution, something like that. I'm not telling you the answer how it is possible, but somehow your choice of electrolyte is very important with respect to the job and tool materials. Okay. So basic electrochemistry in electrochemical machining. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes, sir. Right. So what I'm showing you again, a electrochemical bath. Okay, this is whole thing in a electrochemical cell. Okay, I think I could have here actually just think of a, this is my job. This is my job. This hatch portion, this is my job. Okay, and this is my with a green line. This is my tool. Hatch portion. This is my tool. Okay. Say for example, say this is made of copper and this is made of iron. Okay, and this yellow color thing is that represent the water. Not only water, it is an water or sodium chloride in with certain concentration in water. So aqueous solution of sodium chloride. Okay, so what is happened in the anode? what will happen in the cathode and what will happen in the electrolyte. That is what we see it over here. Okay, first thing, the most common easy thing we can see in the electrolyte, what will happen? We have sodium chloride salt, that is our common salt. So it will dissociate into sodium plus and chlorine minus ions. Okay, and water molecule will get dissociated in H plus and OH minus ions. Okay, and I'll come to this later on. What may happen in the anode? Anode iron here, iron will give up electrons. Okay, so this becomes positive ions. So electrons it has given up. So this electron it has given up. Okay, so positive iron ions will getting created over here. These irons now can, once it is free, it can now in the electrolyte additionally we have sodium ions, we have chlorine ions, we have OH ions, we have H plus ions. Okay, iron can adapt to what? All negative ions. Like what is the negative ions available? Chlorine minus and OH minus. With when it get attached to the chlorine, it becomes a ferrous chloride. Okay, this is ferrous chloride. And what will be about? This can give as a ferrous hydroxide. See, iron can have valency of 2 and 3. So it can either ferric or ferrous. Okay, so this is the ferrous hydroxide it could create over here. And this is again reversible. Okay, and in the cathode we have H plus ions generated from the thing. So these H plus ions all will migrate to these things and they would take up the electrons because electrons are flowing. So there will be series of ions, they will keep up and they will become neutralized. So after they will become neutralized. So small H2 molecules will be generated and one molecule will be attached to that. So teeny bubbles of hydrogens will get created and create a blanket of hydrogen gas over here. Try to create, which may impede further this kind of electron exchange or ion exchange over here. Okay, but what will happen? Eventually, these hydrogen bubbles will grow bigger, and when it will be able to overcome the by the buoyancy force, it will come out over there, and one after the other, it will be able to come out in forms of small bubbles. It will come out hydrogens. Okay, but additionally, what may happen? This ferrous hydroxides, they may react with the available hydroxyl as well as hydroxide ion, means okay, so that they may convert to ferric hydroxides and further hydrogens. Okay, now this is ferric hydroxides. Once is get created, these ferric hydroxides can remain in the solution or may not remain in the solution. Now, it will depend, is it soluble in the NaCl solution? Answer is no. It is insoluble. So what will happen? This very fine powder of FeOH3, if it has been created slowly by this kind of reactions, what will happen? By the gravitational pull, they will all settle down over here. Okay, and slowly with passage of time, you see this is dark brown in color. So this clear and NaOH solution, if you put a spoonful of salt, common salt in a glass of water, does it have any color? No, it is transparent. But slowly with passage of time, because of this conversion, they will become turbid, brownish in color. And on the bottom, because of the settlement of this with time, you see there is some kind of a muddy kind of ferric hydroxide has been settled on the bottom of the shell. Okay, so somehow we have to remove it from here. There is a mechanism by which we will do it. We will discuss later. But this will be precipitated into the solution. Okay, at the bottom. Okay, and what may happen? further, okay, this NaOH can have react. This is also possible things. It can create NaCl plus OH minus, or Na plus can react with the OH2O. It can create NaOH plus H minus 1. All different types of reactions are possible. Some of them are reversible and some are irreversible. But what is important to outcome, knowing the outcome, the job is getting eroded. Okay, is it not? Job is gradually getting eroded, molecule by molecule. It will come in, the iron will come out of this job, so it will get eroded. But there is no damage to the tool. It is not getting eroded. Neither there is any material getting deposited. This iron is not getting deposited on this copper tool. It is getting settled down in form of ferric hydroxides. So maybe the concentration of water, because it is consuming this OH3, this will concentrate, and with that this will change. But so far as tool is concerned, neither deposition or not erosion is there. So we'll note it down, this kind of thing. Any question? Okay, let me move further ahead. From this, let me move into the basic scheme of ECM machines. We know what is the background electrochemistry which may be required for a ECM machine. But when you make a machine, see, simply only knowing the electrochemistry is not good enough for a machine. You have to convert, because even if you are with a knife, you can create a scratch on the job, but you cannot make a component like a gear, okay, or something like that. You can keep on a, cannot make on a, say, milling machine. It has to be you got to have a milling machine for that thing. Similarly, for ECM machines, what we have, you got to have some ECM setup with fixtures with which can hold the job, which can hold the tool, which can allow the electrolyte to flow properly, okay, which can give the electrical connections, which may give encloses, isolate it from the rest of the things, so many things, okay. And we got to have some DC power supply, which will be either continuous source of DC voltage or pulsed voltage. Both are possible, but it has to be DC source, because job has always to be on the positive terminal, anode. Okay. Additionally, what will happen, tool and the job, you got to have an electrolyte. So for there is an electrolyte tank. Okay. So from there, through a pump, we can put it there, and this inter-electrode gap can continuously be flooded. But since when the power supply is on, machining will be going on, so electrolyte will get contaminated with the reaction products with time. So same electrolyte cannot be used. If at all it is used, it has to be treated first. Then fresh electrolyte can be put back into the systems. That is exactly what we will be doing. So what we are doing, this electrolyte will be, there will be some exit for this, there will be input, there will be exit, and this electrolyte along with the some contamination which we are calling as the sludge. Sludge is basically the muddy ferric hydroxide which has been precipitated. So this will be coming out of this. Now this, here we have a centrifuge. So this centrifuge, when you rotate at a very high speed, what will happen? The heavier particles and lighter particles, okay, so they may be segregated. Okay, so that way through the centrifuge we will be able to segregate these ferric hydroxides, okay, which are heavier as compared to, and clean water can be collected, clean sodium chloride solution can be collected out and put back into the tank. And through the centrifuge, this sludge can be separated and they can be settled in this sludge in another storage kind of things. Okay. And again, we can have put them through the PANG. In between, we can have some other unit like filtration, additional. Then we can have some chillers. We have not shown it. We made it as simple as possible. But this is the basic scheme what is required in the ECM machines. But we will see more details as a schematic how it will look like. Okay, so we are telling you about the schematic diagram of an ECM machine. Okay, so as I said, first thing is the main setup. Okay, so this is the body and setup of this. So where you see this is the base and whole thing, this is the base. This is the fixture and this is your job. Initially it was a rectangular block. Okay, this is your job and this fixture is going to insulate the job from the fixture, because if it is connected to the other part, maybe rest of the things also will get charged, which we do not want. So maybe this fixture, maybe we can insulate it. Some insulation may be required, and fixture may be good enough for hold this job. Okay, it does not get displaced by the pressure of the electrolyte. And similarly, through some mechanism, we move the tool gradually downwards, maybe through another servo kind of mechanism which operates on the feedback sensing. Okay, of the gap. Now you see this is the electrolyte source, filtration from the electrolyte reservoir, and through the pump we are putting a filter and then putting the clean electrolyte into the systems. But it is either it can be thrown here, but here in order to electrolyte so that it can get evenly dispersed in the gap, we have made a special tool. This out of the entire tool is basically a cylindrical tool. Okay, but this is a hollow cylindrical. It could be other shape also, because I am able to create this shape. But inside this tool, I am made this boring, then make a small hole so that electrolyte can come in like this. And these are the through exit points, but it can exit. And how much is the gap? Is the tool touching the workpiece? No, it is not. There is a small gap. How small is the gap? It may be 100 micron. It may be 50 micron, but very small. And since the electrolyte is flowing through the pump, of course, the flow rate is controlled by the pumping power. So at high pressure, they will come and leave the systems over here. But because of its momentum, okay, and continuous flow, so this result in reaction products like solid ferric hydroxide particles also will get transported from this area. It will move. So always phase dielectric, or not dielectric, phase electrolyte is replacing the contaminated electrolyte over here. And this contaminated electrolyte, when it falls, it will come out, go back in the systems, and there in the centrifuge, they would get cleaned, separated out, and from there it will come back into the reservoir so that this cycle can go on. Okay, and here actually, if you want to run just like our heart, you have to power. So this is the power supply. We have to give a power supply here. The positive thing is connected to the job. Okay, and negative terminal is connected to the tool. Okay, tool is fitted on some tool holder and followed by maybe some movement mechanism so that it can move up and down from there through some motorized movement. And here we can see how much voltage we have applied and what is the average current rating, that we can see it from here. But that is not the all. Additionally, what we are doing, you see there is an enclosure. Is it not? There is an enclosure. Why is the enclosure? Because in a big room like this, we cannot keep the machine open environment. Say overnight, a job may run for say several hours, tens of hours, 20, 30, 40 hours. And if a room like this, because there is a gas, hydrogen gas is created as a reaction product. So if it is an enclosed room like this, whole gas room will be maybe slowly filled with hydrogen, and hydrogen is very dangerous because it is inflammable. Okay, So it will catch prior, it may create disaster. So by this enclosure, we are collecting to some kind of a fume extractor, and maybe some 50 feet away, some open field, we are throwing this water in the open air like this and ensuring the hydrogen, what is getting produced, how about in a small quantity, that is thrown out from this zone. Okay. So this has to be enclosed. That's why it has to be done like this. Okay. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
I think now, I think that my network issues are slightly better. Normally it doesn't happen, but today somehow from yesterday night I'm observing it. It is some problem with IIT network. Okay. So here actually, I look at the previous slide. The gap between the tool and the job is very small. But within the small gap, the applied voltage and electrochemical reactions, they are typical. Suppose this is the job and this is the tool. Okay. So this is what is my workpiece. Positive terminal is my workpiece and negative terminal is my tool. And this is the inter-electrode gap. We are calling it as the inter-electrode gap. Okay, and this is filled up with the electrolyte. Okay, so within the electrolyte, the consistency of the electrolyte is not homogeneous, because although the electrolyte, the NaCl gets dissociated there, but the Na plus, Cl minus, H plus, OH minus, they are not homogeneously distributed. It cannot, because of this polarity. There is a relative migrations, because negative ions will move towards the positive terminal and positive ions will move towards the negative terminals, and continuously some electrochemical reactions are going on at the electrochemistry. Either they are giving up electrons or taking up electrons. So what are the various voltage drops at the electrode and the electrolyte? So what we see, we know also there may be some over voltages near to the electrodes. Okay, either there could be anode over voltage or there could be cathode over voltage. What are these over voltages consisting of? They could be due to the anode potential, or they could be due to the activation polarizations, or they could be due to the ohmic over voltage or concentration policy. This is having its own meaning. Say because of this kind of concentration polarizations, even if this at the electrode level, unless say H plus ions take up the electrons, it cannot become electrons. So, but continuously H plus ions are all queuing up, as if in your dining hall, suppose in your mess, you are standing for either your counter with the because unless the front people takes up the plate, you cannot get your dinner for lunch. So you have to wait. So it all depends how the efficient is the counter. If this process is inefficient over here, in the back end also there will be a lot of queues. So that would means the concentration polarization kind of situation is there. There are other ways also this polarization will play, but unless you have if you have to overcome and initiate the electrochemical process resulted in terms of machining operations, first thing, minimum this over voltages you have to overcome. This some amount of the electromotive force will get used for this overcoming this over voltage. So roughly, typically this over voltage may be around 1.5 volt at both the electrodes, and this will be something restricted within something around 100 micron. Okay, within 100 micron, this kind of drop will be seen. So if we try to measure, suppose this is the distance, inter-electrode gap, and at every point of this distance, say we see what is this thing, what is the corresponding voltage. Okay, you see here the voltage value will change. So from here there will be some drop. From here there will be some drop within, which is non-linear within this 0.1 micron because of the over voltages. But below this range, below this 0.1 voltage, rest of the gap, maybe we can have this drop is follow the Ohm's rule. So it will be linear. So this is what we are calling is the ohmic drop in the electrolyte, which will be restricted minus the area of the over voltage application. So this will be, we can have the I square RT, I square R is the over voltage. Okay. So that is the current flowing through the electrolyte, its square multiplied by the resistance of the electrolyte. So how do you calculate the resistance of the electrolyte? See, between tool and the job, maybe it may be, think of a cylindrical tool, cylindrical disc. This is also cylindrical disc. So what is the area under this footprint of this tools and electrodes? So this is the machining area, something like this. Okay, so total electrolyte, this is the distance. Okay, so from there you can see what is the resistance. If you know the resistivity of the electrolyte, from there you will be able to calculate out what is the resistance of the electrolyte. So typically such kind of, in order to for ECM, your sometimes may require a voltage level something between 5 to 50 volt. And that can be something between, could be either a continuous source of voltage or pulse voltages. Okay, and your current density in ECM is pretty high. I have written here 10 to 100 ampere per centimeter square. But in terms of, say, when you have the make it into what should be the current value? Current could be, say, for a 1 square centimeter job, you may have a current use rating of 100 ampere. Think of it, you are doing a big impeller, you are machining there. Okay, so that case current rating can go up to several thousand degree, 5000 ampere, extremely high current consuming, because every bit of material that you remove, you have to expend some energy, some current, and then you can do it there. So it is a high current process, but low voltage process. So with this understanding, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Yes. So we'll see, there are, Michael Faraday has given 2 laws of electrons. Again, we are brushing it up. We know, you know already, I know. There are 2 laws. Okay. One is the amount of, when an electric current passes through an electrolyte, it results in chemical reactions. So first law states the amount of any substance deposited or dissolved, okay, we are denoting it by W, produced by a current is proportional to the quantity of electricity passed, Q, through the electrolyte. So we can say W will be proportional to the charge, okay, Q. So which is nothing but this you can find the current multiplied by the total time, so I into T, Q equal to I into T. So I is the current, T is the time for which the current flows. Okay, so this is the first law. Okay, and the second law states the quantities of substances liberated or deposited on the electrode by the passage of a given quantity of electricity are proportional to the electrochemical equivalent of the substance, ECE. Okay, so W will be proportional to electrochemical equivalent. So what is the electrochemical equivalent of a substance? It is the ratio of its atomic weight and its valency at which dissolution occurs. Okay, say for a iron, we know the atomic weight is 56. So if it is a dissolution occurs at 2, valency 2, so EC will be electrochemical equivalent will be 56 divided by 2, which will be 28. But if the dissolution occurs at valency 3, it will be 56 divided by 3. Now it will be slightly around 19 or so. So if we combine these two laws, okay, what do we get? W is proportional to Q in one case, another case A by V. So if we bring about a constant of 1 by F, so W will be equal to, which is the constant of proportionality. So W is 1 by F into A by V into Q. Or we can say W equal to, in terms of I and T, it will be 1 by F into A by V into I into T. Okay, so F is, this is Faraday's constant whose value is 96,500 coulombs. Okay, so the material removal rate, okay, is how much? It is rate. So W dot, it is W by T. So this, from this it will be A divided by F into V into I. So if we know F, value of F, we know this is constant, atomic weight is constant, valency is constant. So if we know, say through a solution 5 ampere, 10 amperes of current is flowing, immediately we will be able to say this is the material removal rate, is it not? So this will be in terms of gram equivalent parts second. Okay. So MRR again, this will be gram equivalent, but if you want to see the volumetric material removal rate, so we have to divide this value by the density so that we get the volume. So MRR will be A divided by F into V into I divided by rho. Okay. So this will be in terms of, say, meter cube per second, some volume per second. Okay, whatever it can say, but it depends upon the unit of the density. Please mute yourself. Someone is mic is on. So suppose we have a very simple flat type of job, tool and job, and tool is coming down onto the job. So if we know the volume, what will be the feed rate of the tool? We have to divide this volumetric material removal rate by the your area of the tool. So you, from that you straight away get the feed rate of the tool. So feed rate can be counted as A divided by F into V into JC divided by rho. Okay. Well, what is JC? JC is nothing but we are dividing whole thing basically by surface area. So JC is the current density, which is nothing but I divided by surface area. This is in ampere per centimeter square, value of JC. And this will be, of course, the feed rate. So we know what should be the feed rate of the tool from here. Very simple. We will be able to calculate out. Okay. What is the time? Let us stop here. Maybe 10 years. Let me take the attendance for you. Any questions you can ask over here? So next class we'll see what should be the rate of material removal rate, because this is for a pure metal. What should be the MRR for an alloy, which will be consisting of several such material? Will we be able to derive some relationship for an alloy as well? Answer is yes. We'll see how it is done. Okay. Let us stop here today. Okay. Is my ERP screen visible?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, let me see. Okay. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Quickly, because please respond and unmute sequentially when your name comes. Otherwise, you please mute it again, and otherwise, lot of noise will be coming. Just 1 or 2 names before your roll number comes, you may unmute it. One three ME 10041.
Present, sir.
Okay. Uh, 15 QM 3006. Vipul Kumar. 16 IM 10002.
Present, sir.
16 IM 10011.
Present, sir.
16 ME 10003. 16 ME 10011.
Present, sir.
16 ME 10020.
Yes, sir.
16 ME 10029.
Present, sir.
10066.
Yes, sir.
ME 31019.
Present, sir.
ME 33009.
Present, sir.
33037. Vishal Shah Chaudhary. Not audible. 16 MF 10005. 10021.
Present, sir.
10026.
Present, sir.
17 IM 10004.
Present, sir.
17 ME 10002. Abhishek? Not audible. 17 ME 10003.
Present, sir.
10014.
Present, sir.
10019.
Present, sir.
10031.
Present, sir.
10032. Kartik Kanojia. Not audible. 10038.
Present, sir.
10040.
Present, sir.
43.
Present, sir.
44.
Present, sir.
50.
Yes, sir.
51.
Present, sir.
52.
Present, sir.
56.
Present, sir.
57.
Present, sir.
65. Vidhan Kashyap. 67.
Present, sir.
69.
Present, sir.
72. Kshitiz Goel. Not audible. If you have some issues with the mic, your mic, please write in the chat box. From there I can pick up. Okay. But not everybody. Try to respond first. 10077.
Present, sir.
78.
Present, sir.
79. Mukund. 17 ME 32003. Nagesh Kumar Harish. ME 33001. 33003. 33007.
Present, sir.
33008.
Present, sir.
Present, sir.
Roll number
33008.
008. Mukesh Ranjan. Okay, fine. 3300
Present, sir.
33011.
Sir.
013.
Present, sir.
015. Shaunak Banerjee, not audible. 017.
Present, sir.
Okay. 018.
Present, sir.
19. Ved Prakash. 20.
Present, sir.
21.
Present, sir.
22. 23.
Present, sir.
24.
Present, sir.
25.
Present, sir.
26.
Present, sir.
33.
Present, sir.
34.
Present, sir.
39.
Present, sir.
40.
Present, sir.
41.
Present, sir. Present, sir.
Then we have 17 ME
Present,
3FP13.
Present, sir.
Okay. Now 17 MF 10009.
Present, sir.
10020. Anurup Anand. 22. Pritam absent. Then 23. 17 MF 3IM03.
Present, sir.
Okay. 18 MF 10001. 10002.
Present, sir.
3.
Present, sir.
5.
Present, sir.
6.
Present, sir.
7.
Present, sir.
8.
Present, sir.
9.
Present, sir.
10. 11. Dipansh Kumar. Not audible. 12.
Present, sir.
13. 14.
Present, sir.
15.
Present, sir.
16.
Present, sir.
17.
Present, sir.
19.
Present, sir.
20.
Present, sir.
22.
Present, sir.
23.
Yes, sir.
24. Ritik Cobra. Not audible. 25. 27.
Present, sir.
27 present. 25. Okay. 29.
Present, sir.
31.
Present, sir.
32. Utkarsh.
Present, sir.
33.
Present, sir.
34.
Yes, sir.
35.
Present, sir.
Okay. 18
Yes,
MF
sir.
PFP01. Ayush. 18 MF 3IM01. Ashok Kumar.
Yes, sir.
Okay. MF3IM03.
Present, sir.
3IM04.
Present, sir.
IM07.
Present, sir. Absent, sir. Present, sir. Absent, sir.
I think this is funniest thing happening. I mark you present or absent.
Sir, I'm very sorry. My sister is doing this. Present,
Oh,
sir.
okay, okay, now I understand. Now, okay, now you may mute. 18 MF 3IM08.
Present, sir.
09.
Present, sir.
10. Your sister has to sit in the examination also. 3IM010. Manas God. Not audible. IM11.
Present, sir.
12.
Yes, sir.
13.
Present, sir.
15.
Present, sir.
Then come 17.
Present, sir.
18.
Present, sir.
Okay. Some interruption. 19.
Present, sir.
20.
Present, sir.
21.
Yes, sir.
22.
Hello, sir.
Sir,
Sir,
Fill your name first.
Sir, 17.
Sir Vipul Kumar. 15th floor.
Vipul, class attend karte only if you want to give your attendance like this, you have to attend the class also. I'm
Yes,
asking
sir.
it.
I was attending, sir. I
Did
joined
anyone
again,
else?
sir.
sir, Devendra Patil.
Lavender Kaur, sir.
Sir, Abhijit Mangosri, sir.
Abhijit.
Yes, sir.
Devendra Patil.
But you have to come in time. That's all.
Sir, Lavender Kaur, 17 ME 33022.
If you all talk together and one at a time.
Sir, Abhishek Banerjee. 17 ME 0002.
Okay.
Sir,
Anybody
18
else?
ME.
10000.
शुरू क्या?
17 ME 33022.
17 MF. नाम बोलो.
Sir,
17 MF
Lavender Kaur.
हो गया.
Sir, 18 MF 10024.
Sir, 18 MF 10011.
17 ME 33022.
हाँ?
17 ME 100.
17 ME 33022.
ME 33022. लविंदर काउल. That's all?
1032.
Yes, sir.
हाँ?
17 ME 10032.
17 ME 10032.
17 ME.
16 MF 10005. Ankit Kumar.
Okay, thank you.